Alright guys, so we're here with game number 2 in this losers bracket game between AJIV and Beuk versus Thiefy and Stowe. So Thiefy and Stowe unsuccessful in the first game, with AJIV and Beuk with a successful defense early on. And an impressive proxy base from AJIV, managing to snipe a total of 3 factories in the late game, really messing with the opponent's ability to mount a successful push, because from their Southside team was able to really push up towards their opponents. And this time the spawns are flipped. We've got Stowe and Thiefy on the south side. Early churches abound because the player's going to want to access mercantilism to get the all-important cavalry and infantry train speed techs, building construction speed, covered wagons if they can fit it in, or go for forts or one of the damage cards, or even go for a shipment of units early on just to put the pressure on. So there's even an attempt, oh, it's a bit laggy, but even an attempt by Beuk to try and take this trading post, but there's going to be a bit of a militia v militia brawl here. I think Beuk might be best off trying to focus down the militia here, but he is going to get the trading post in the end. And what he's going to look at training here. Oops. Oh, that's a nice card. Cheyenne Hunting Ground. So he's going to get access to all these free bison, an extra free hunt at the start of the game. Is he going to go for the units out of it? Holy shit, it is laggy. So these guys must have been lagging a fuckload when they played this game. Because it's not me. I ain't playing it. Like, lag will actually show up in the recording, guys. I'm not shitting you. It will actually show up and then basically double up because you'll lag because it was laggy as fuck. That's a nice number of early goons out in the field. Really going to be able to possibly delay the walling from the north side. So these guys, I think, are some treaty experts. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not actually a hugely long-term member of the AoE 3 community as such. I'm just sort of doing a bit of casting, doing a bit of chilling. But we got some treaty veterans on the north side, so they play a really defensive game for the most part. While these guys on the south side, some seasoned deathmatch players. But at the same time, there's a nice raid here from AJIV. He's managed to sneak past the later walling from Stowe here, so he's able to put a bit of pressure on. I think he's actually denied one of the town centers going up there, so that's quite huge, because I think Stowe would have actually shipped a pair of town centers. Is that the card he would have had? Or was that someone else I was looking at? And oh no, he was building it, so he must have been building something else there. I'm not sure what, but he would have lost that. But Stowe able to repel, and Thiefy going for a hell of a push on his ports. So I didn't actually introduce the civs, but we've got French and ports versus ports and Germans. I think these cazadors, they're a skirmisher unit. So skirms versus war wagons. I think it's a good fight for the war wagons, although that is such a heavy mass of them, and there's no skirms in to support them as well. So ideally you want some war wagons to tank, but then you want your own skirms or some of your own siege to really blow this huge number of cazadors off the map, which I think is going to be the plan now from AJIV. So Thiefy even looking at trying to wall up over here, but Beuk's been able to clean that up while he's managing to get his own walls for the most part. Ooh, but the siege quite dangerously forward. At the same time, it's baiting the dragoons to come forward into the range of goons and cazadors. The siege is going to be really handy against Thiefy's cazadors. But it's a huge number of goons there for Stowe. So these guys on the top side being forced into their own little choke, but they've got a bit of a siege advantage here at the moment. And while this is going on, there's a nice little raid here for Beuk, although he's lost his Ulans. He's managed to kill... Well, did he even get the Vils, or did he just sort of die before he got the factories? Yeah, that's a shame. But meanwhile, he's also having a prod at Thiefy in the meanwhile, who's left some goons at home to try and deal with this, but in the meanwhile, means that there's a bit less pop for these guys from the south side in the middle of the map. And there's another little raid going on here for AJIV, because he's managed to fit a little proxy stables inside the wall of his opponent. So he's even managed to draw a bit of skirmisher horse gun defense against Hussar, which is not what you want. So Stowe sort of caught defending with what he's got closest, which is a bit rough. But now some Cheyenne Riders coming out. These guys are going to be more what he wants. And now with them as a front line, that's where the infantry and the mixed comp will help him clean up this little proxy base that's going on. So Vil counts AJIV. So I'll go through everyone. AJIV and Nahal Beuk at 34 and 30. 12 for Thiefy and 24 for Stowe at the moment. So Thiefy really committed to a huge army of Cazadors there, but is really only just now starting to get that eco revving up again. Stowe as well, having to deal with quite a bit of raiding going on from AJIV, bit of cheekiness. He was successful with a nice proxy base last game, and this game he's already gone for one that's not been game ending, but it has bought him and Beuk a bit of space. They're really pushing in to the mid map now, even down into Thiefy's base, who hasn't quite finished off this wall up. And Beuk even looking to try and counter wall Thiefy on this side of the map. While AJIV, this game he's been a bit slower with his walling up, which is interesting because last game he instantly walled up along the trade line, which I suppose Thiefy sort of half did. He's got a lot of unfinished walls there as well, because he did lose a lot of a couple of villages initially. That is some nice raiding from Beuk. So it's always nice to try and wall up the trade line, or at least just outside of it, so you sort of deny mortar and proxy pressure. But it also means that your opponent can oftentimes send just a handful of goons or hussars there and really end that, and then springboard into your base. So we're all fighting under Thiefy's towers now, and Stowe also has a couple of towers out, bringing some of his siege into the mix. Neither team's really got any mortars out yet. I suppose it's perhaps a little early, but at the same time, this bloodbath could really go either way. It's always rough trying to take fights like this, because you never really know if you're going to come out on top. Whereas it's always easy just to sort of, I guess, be the defending side in this sense, because you've got the defender's advantage. And you've just got to worry about knowing when your opponent's going to try raid or go for some silly damaging proxy, because those Doppelsoldners there, if they can get through anywhere in the walls, which, oh, this is good for Beuk and not so great for Thiefy, because it means that a gate can go up there and these Doppelsoldners have always got access into the base. Thiefy's going to have to try and wall behind the wall of Beuk there and try and repel this with enough of his own ranged unit, because he really doesn't want to get in range of these guys, because they've not got a lot of health, but they've got a nice sweep attack, a huge amount of damage. If they can get it off in that big cone of damage. But all this isn't so bad for Thiefy, because he's got the Cazadors here to support all these goons, and a lot of these Doppelsoldners not really able to get any value there, so Beuk with a little bit of a misplay, but at the same time now he's going to be able to send half of them in to try and harass the settlers. Well, Thiefy's going to try and clean up the Yulans, but leaving these guys to their own device might not be the best idea. He's going to have to garrison all these vills, spend a lot of idle time on his eco, and meanwhile Stowe mainly having to defend AJIV with the push. Well, there's not a lot of units left up here for Beuk at the moment because he's sending so much in to try and harass Thiefy and deny eco at the moment. He's continuing to creep forward with this proxy base right on the wall. So a bit of a similar idea to what AJIV was going for over here on the left side earlier. But now Thiefy thinks it's over for the minute, so he's going to try and support against AJIV, and well, Beuk's streaming some more units down the mid-map now as well, because I mean he's got to sort of feign some pressure to make it look like Thiefy needs to be here. If he wants to keep a proxy up here that's going to be successful, he actually doesn't want to overcommit to it and sort of leave AJIV high and dry in the middle and let Thiefy really figure it out. So in the meanwhile, there is a bit of raiding going on from Stowe. He's managed to breach the walls, and he's even mocking AJIV for how much walls he's got at the moment. Need any more walls? Still managed to sneak some Cheyenne Riders in, so this will just buy a bit of time. A lot of goons having to chase that down, and this, you know, really gets the south side team a bit of chance to move up, especially because a lot of units committed down here by Beuk for that little proxy push. So this center army really could just probably overwhelm these guys in the center at the moment, especially because AJIV's going to have to respond to this reverse proxy here from Stowe, sort of getting back at his opponent for the early sneaky stables. Sort of stables into artillery foundries. Nearly is always going to be the ideal way to go about a silly proxy like that, because it's the quickest way to deal damage. You can get the stables in, do some harass, get the if you get the foundry up, a little bit longer to get mortars out, but if you can start really hitting buildings, try and snipe the factories. But meanwhile, Beuk's been found out, so Thiefy's managed to come back and clean this up before too much has really come to harass him. So the mortars committed to, that's a 12 population lock up there. And they are quite expensive units. They can't fight against anything other than buildings, so losing them is also a big blow to Beuk. So he's only lost one there, I think, or maybe two. But Thiefy has just so many cazadors here, so he's going to be able to wrap around and I think just get on top of all these skirms, wipe them out. And Thiefy is covering the mid-map at the moment against AJIV, who's continuing to wall up. I think he's now just continuing to wall just to give Thiefy the shits at this point. The treaty veterans with their insane walling skills. Walling is a very useful skill to have. But it looks like Thiefy's mostly cleaned up this push over here, and he's going to be able to wrap around and try and help Don in the mid-map here. Eco counts, we got 60 vills for Stowe, and 74 for Thiefy, while Beuk's at 70, 99 for AJIV. So definitely a slightly bigger eco commitment by the players on the north side of the map, which I mean makes this fighting force a little bit smaller, but it means they're constantly gathering just that little bit more than their opponents through everything. An insane walling skills, man. Where did you learn to wall like this? It's continuing to push forward with the walls. Or Beuk still has a little force over here, cheeky force just to deny walling and force Thiefy to have to bring units back and really detract from this assistance for Stowe versus AJIV at the moment. And it looks like AJIV continuing to creep forward, continuing to abuse walls kappa. So petard use from Stowe to try and tear down these walls, but while he's doing so, that's going to cost him pop. So, and he's not really able to get anything there. He's going to lose a couple of them for free. It's not great for him, and Beuk coming in with some harass on Thiefy's base. Some Cazadors here to back this up. A couple of Doppel soldiers to try and deny that outpost. They are going to get it, I believe. Yes, and that's a nice pick off from him. But I don't know if this push can really be sustained here. Even if these silly walls go up, I think the villagers that were putting them down have been brought back. But this is a scary push. I do think at the moment Thiefy's got enough to deal with it. These Auto Knights, quite a nice solid unit. I don't know whether the war wagons really beat them or they beat the war wagons, but it's interesting to see Thiefy use them. But I was wrong about the north side push. They are able to creep forward into the forts now because they do have I was going to say a ram. There is a howitzer to support them. So that center outpost falling, and now Thiefy creeping forward, but he's still got Beuk harassing him with some skirms now. That's got some of his archers, his besties over here to try and clean this up. No raiding as such other than this little proxy base continuing to stream some units on this odd angle into Thiefy. He's going to try and get some outposts, but he really... What villages has he got going to build them? That one villager must have been queued onto them and had something happen, or was she building one that got... Oh, it got cancelled, that's right. And Thiefy hasn't realised that he needs to get these two outposts built as soon as he can. Because AJIV continuing to pressure and crack a hole. Drive a wedge between Thiefy and Don Stowe. Don Stowe. Plenty of walls to keep himself safe for the time being. But Thiefy is quite exposed here now. On this front side of his base, and he does have these estates over here. He doesn't really have a lot of space. Unless he, say, deletes this segment of unbuilt wall, and then he's sort of still got a bit of a problem here. So it's an awkward spot sometimes being the player on the trade line, because it does cut into the side of your base for space, whereas it looks like Don Stowe pretty set in terms of the space, like he can still get whatever he needs to up here. Beuk and AJIV, I think, slowly managing to creep forward as this goes on. Don Stowe 78 vils, Thiefy 96, Beuk 85, and AJIV 98. So slightly more eco commitment from north side, but I don't think it's a huge amount. It's a smaller gap than last game. Some of these forts being exposed and going to be picked off, but so does the mortar. In terms of resources, how are things looking? So AJIV, pretty nice there. Beuk's still got plenty of gold in the bank too. Thiefy really low on gold at the moment. Don Stowe a bit low on gold. So I think north side looking slightly healthier in terms of what's in the bank, what's in the tank at the moment. Ooh, but this is nice. But not fast enough. AJIV well aware of a petard push incoming, so this would potentially have wiped out all these town centres, or if they had made it further in, the mills and the estates. But Don Stowe's had to bring an awful lot just to clean up and cover for this, while AJIV is still pressuring down on Thiefy's base at the moment, and Beuk can also push alongside what's left of AJIV's forces here. So Don Stowe really needs to commit here, and I don't know if taking down a single wall with all that was the best choice. He probably should have just streamed the units in and took out the outposts, or maybe even started taking out all the houses, because while this is going on, there's a really devastating push. Thiefy is being punished so heavily at the moment. Yeah, I think the factories are going to be sniped, and a lot of these villages are going to be under threat very shortly. Mortars even being used to help take out the segments of the wall. And here we go. So Don Stowe needs to get a lot of value out of this push. He's making it work as best he can because a lot of army now being built back here for AJIV, and he's losing a lot of his eco, but all the petards gonna go down, and I don't think the factories were under threat at all. Because there's one there and one over the other side of the base. Really not a bad idea to split them up as well. So Don Stowe's push has been repelled. Thiefy's lost one of his factories, but I think he's alright to hold on for the minute because Don Stowe now has managed to bring over all the rest of his newly trained cavalry. So he's able to help cover there with Thiefy. But now Thiefy is sort of dipped down in score, sort of the leader on score on his team earlier, and now is struggling a bit, having lost the factory and been pressured by both players a little bit there. But Don Stowe not going to give up on at least trying to bait something out of AJIV now, who this time is having to send the bigger population over to that left side of the map. But does Don Stowe have enough in the bank to keep remaxing? Yeah, he does. He's still maxed. Still fighting pretty well through this, and has his own Cheyenne riders. So now he's going to dedicate a bit more to the top wall, continuing to try and cover for Thiefy, who at the moment has seemingly pushed out his side of the base. So Beuk, this proxy base is just continually pushed into him, but he's just continually managed to spring back, even managed to wall up a fair bit here. He still needs to get those outposts down. And Don Stowe now relishing the chance to sneak some units into AJIV's base now. Force him to have to bring some units home. Potentially going to snipe some eco here, get something really valuable out of this. But AJIV creeping forward, and now he's into the heartland of the production for Thiefy now, for Don Stowe now, sorry. And Thiefy going to try and creep forward and fight his own battle. Beuk's really sort of split him up from Don Stowe now. So Don Stowe, his push been cleaned up, and all this forward factory is going to get picked off pretty quickly here, I think. So that's really rough for Don Stowe now, because that's generating 7 coin a second, so that's equivalent to how many vils is that? Whoa, that's, yeah, like 4.5 vils worth the factory, so that going down really rough for Don Stowe right now. He's not able to get through AJIV's walls over there. He really needs to bring these cuirasses back to try and cover for him over here. Thiefy in the meanwhile continuing to actually push in Beuk at the moment, so I think he's managing to hold off quite well here. Beuk's invested into these howitzers, but he's not really able to get a huge amount of value out of them yet. So he's been repelled, but things are looking rough for Don Stowe at the moment, having lost that factory, and there's still units streaming in here. Still another one of these mortars chipping away at the buildings. At this stage of the game, you're not really thinking about trying to gather wood. You're trying to field a mostly gold food army with all your cav infantry, and the wood you do get, you want to put towards your all your bloody artillery. So it is rough losing the buildings like that, and particularly if you lose the factory, they're not replaceable. So if they go down, it's very drastic at this stage of the game. But Beuk the one struggling most for score at the moment, because I think Thiefy might be making a bit of ground on him here. Some great fighting there from Thiefy. But now AJIV going to pressure Thiefy while this is going on, and also keeping Don Stowe busy over here on the left, and Don Stowe not really able to find a way to work into AJIV's space. I wonder if he gets some mortars over here and just parks them here and tries to chip down these outposts and then work on the other buildings if he's going to come out ahead. But it's really rough. AJIV's keeping me busy. Ooh, and now Thiefy being repelled. Beuk popping back up in score. tying up with Thiefy at the moment. He's creeping forward. Now he doesn't have the unit. Oh, he does have some more howitzers here. They are focusing down the wall, so eventually they'll be able to creep forward and focus down buildings too. I think this one's coming to a bit of a stalemate here. Replay just about to finish, but these guys are looking pretty even, so I don't know what the go is here. So Stowe looking to mount a fight, but he doesn't have a lot in the bank behind this. I think he and Thiefy must be struggling. Well, I think everybody's sort of struggling to stay maxed here except for Beuk at the moment. Yeah, everyone other than Beuk is really sort of struggling to stay maxed. I mean, they've all got a little bit in the bank, but GG, Stowe tapping out, and Thiefy also tapping out. So, yeah, at the end of that, Thiefy a little bit low on the gold, but at the same time, oh yeah, he's sort of being forced back. And he really needs the gold at this point. But GG, well played. So AJIV and Beuk take the series 2-0, guys. And thank you for tuning in.